White Lives Matter rallies flop as hardly anyone shows up. In semi-private, encrypted chats, neo-Nazis and other far-right extremists planned rallies in dozens of cities Sunday to promote their racist movements and spread their ideologies to larger audiences. Hyped by organizers as events that would make the whole world tremble, the rallies ran into a major problem: hardly anyone showed up. The White Lives Matter rallies, the first major real-world organizing efforts by white supremacists since 2018, were planned on the encrypted app Telegram after many aligned groups were alleged to have taken part in the January 6 storming of the US Capitol. The poor showing underscores how the country's unpopular and disorganized extremist movements have been driven underground by increased scrutiny from the media, law enforcement agencies and far-left activists who infiltrate their private online spaces and disrupt their attempts to communicate and organize. Few White Lives Matter marchers showed up Sunday, but anti-racist and anti-fascist groups gathered just the same. In Raleigh, North Carolina, a small crowd of Antifa and anti-racist protesters gathered at the park where the White Lives Matter march was planned. They marched around downtown behind a large white sign that read, "We accept your surrender." In Philadelphia, activists tweeted photos of a counter-protest picnic with pizza and tasty cake snacks. In New York City, over a dozen counter-protesters stood seemingly unopposed across the street from Trump Tower, where a White Lives Matter rally was expected. Police in downtown Albuquerque, New Mexico, formed a circle around a lone protester to separate him from a large crowd of counter-protesters. 3 protesters assembled around a White Lives Matter banner outside City Hall in Fort Worth, Texas, where a police line separated them from a couple of dozen counter-protesters. Hundreds of counter-protesters, bystanders and media members gathered at a counter-protest at the scheduled start time of a White Lives Matter march at Huntington Beach Pier southeast of Los Angeles. Throughout the afternoon, counter-protesters could be seen on several live streams chanting unity and community and Black Lives Matter. A few single protesters, one of whom wore a full hood and a t-shirt with a white supremacist slogan, were run off by the crowd, who yelled, "Go home, Nazis." According to flyers for the event, which recycled images from old propaganda from the disbanded neo-Nazi organization Vanguard America, the marches were meant to take a stand against the media, government and educational institutions that are anti-white. The slogan White Lives Matter has been promoted on flyers and banners by white supremacist groups, including neo-Nazis and Ku Klux Klan groups, since 2015 as a racist response to the Black Lives Matter movement, according to the Anti-Defamation League. In 2016, White Lives Matter was designated a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center. Several White Lives Matter rallies were held that year. Confederate flag-waving protesters gathered outside NAACP headquarters in Houston, and arrests were made in Austin, Texas, when a group of White Lives Matter protesters clashed with counter-demonstrators. Sunday's round of racist rallies seemed destined for failure, said Megan Squire, a computer science professor at Elon University in North Carolina who tracks online extremism. The online organizers of the North Carolina rally were uninformed about state law governing protests, including laws that disallowed firearms, Squire said. The organizers were also generally inept at using Telegram, where the event was announced, and unable to identify obvious trolls in their midst. The efforts behind Sunday's rallies were haphazard and ill-informed, Squire said. They're not sending their best. The White Lives Matter rallies were disrupted in several cities after activists infiltrated their online groups and leaked internal chats to journalists. Those chats were reported to have indicated that the events were being planned by the extremist group the Proud Boys and by self-described fascists and Nazis who framed the rallies as peaceful events unaffiliated with known hate groups to recruit more mainstream members. Organizers in several cities cancelled events because of sabotage by Antifa activists. Raleigh's organizer called off a rally Friday, telling subscribers, "It turns out that the 11th is a disaster." 2 of the largest Telegram channels dedicated to events in Philadelphia and New York City were shown to be traps created by anti-fascist activists. Another local activist tweeted screenshots of the plan's reveal with a warning Saturday to would-be rally-goers. Given how riddled these chats are with anti-fascists, it might be time to rethink whether you really want to trust a bunch of anonymous internet weirdos to show up with you in your city.
Don't forget to subscribe 9plus International.